Okay, Matthew, as you know, you have 15 minutes to present, and then you have a seat, and the commission will ask you questions. Your audience can be present in the presentation, but not in the questions. Okay. So, you can start.
Yeah. Well, good morning, or good afternoon. Today I'm going to present about the influence of positive rapport on students' motivation for learning EFL. Well, to begin with, I'm going to start how I identify the research question. So, first of all, I made a contrast between my old teacher and my new teacher of practicum. I used to say that I had the practicum in the same establishment, but with both different teachers. Okay? Well, the old teacher, that was Amara Molina, has a really good understanding of classroom management, also has a lot of confidence when students, a good relationship. The students has cooperative manners with them, and also they produce when she makes the classes. The other hand, I had my new teacher, my actual practical teacher, that had, because this new teacher label has problem with the students, had problems with interpersonal communication, relationships, troubles to learn the names of the students, and also shows a lack of motivation when he makes his classes. So this leads me to the next point. Lack of motivation equals misbehavior. Well, I understand that it's a both-way situation. The teacher reflects a lack of motivation and also a lack of interest in their students. The students start to misbehave. And also, if the students start to misbehave, the motivation of the teacher to be making a good job during a lack of motivation, because he started to thought, why I'm doing wrong. So there's no dialogue between them. So I try to isolate this and understand that rapport and motivation have a lot of common in this part. Well, first of all, rapport. Rapport is defined by Fernand Clark as the ability to maintain harmonious relationships based on affinity for others. And according to Litton, state a positive rapport is characterized by mutual acceptance, understanding, warmth, closeness, trust, respect, care, and cooperation. I used to say, if you notice by my previous explanation, my first teacher has this rapport made with the students, has a good relationship, the students help her, but on the other hand, the new teacher of the school doesn't have this. So, this leads us to motivation. Well, motivation is separated in intrinsic and extrinsic. First of all, intrinsic motivation is defined as a doing of an activity for its pure satisfaction, rather than from several consequences. So, in brief words, students make things because they want to do it. Okay? But on the other hand, I have a struggle with this definition of extrinsic motivation, because extrinsic motivation is all leads to punishment and reward. Punishment, reward. And I didn't want a punishment and reward definition. I wanted something related with the external relation. So the more students were externally related, the less they showed interest, value, or effort, and the more they indicate a tendency to blame others, such as the teacher, for negative outcomes. I used to say that every external relation that I'm going to make to my students is going to affect them. I used to say it could be ignoring them, could be mistreating them, to don't learn things. I'm comparing myself as a teacher as an external factor of motivation. So it's extrinsic motivation. Next, I'll deal with this. We'll go this analysis. I found this. What is the influence of positive rapport on students' motivation for learning EFL? Well, in order to fulfill this question, I started from my data collection materials. Well, first, field notes to analyze the students' teacher behavior and further relationship in the English classes. Next, I used focus group to identify student thoughts about teachers, good or bad teachers in general, and their relationship with their teacher of English in the class. So more specific. And then I made an interview, a semi-structured interview with the teacher to identify the same, but in the vision of the teacher. How they see good teachers or bad teachers in general, and how is the relationship with their students, and how he sees his classes. So, let's just work on this materials. Or field notes, defined by Marian Gass, talks about observations are useful in that they provide the researcher with the opportunity to collect large amounts of rich data. That is to say that we need a lot of raw data in order to fulfill my data analysis. I need raw data to understand the phenomenon, but no bias. Without bias, I need to be objective with my notes. So I need a lot of raw data. Well, focus group. This is a little bit long, so I want to strengthen this part. Participants are selected because they are propulsive, although not necessarily representative. That is to say that we need an amount of propulsive people to understand a phenomenon. For example, I choose 9 students for the course, and there were 45, so it's like the 20% of the whole population of the classroom. As you say, why propulsive and not representative? Because propulsive is to isolate the problems. The problems could be the same in every student that they are living with the teacher. The problem is the same, but representative is not, because every student lives with the problem with a different form. And finally, semi-structured interview. Well, the decision to interview implies a value in personal language as data. As you may know, when we talk in English, we tend to change our personality, and also we tend to create an image of our English self. So I use a semi-structured interview in Spanish with the teacher in order to fulfill my intentions to get to the real person, the person behind the teacher. Okay? So that's why I mark this part. Personal language is data. They don't want the real conversation, because I see a structured interview not as a real conversation. It's too structured, at least for me. Well, every instrument was subjected to peer assessment, external advisors assessment, and advisors assessment as well. Application of the data collection. Well, the field notes were taken during classes, focused on the 3 main categories: teacher, student, rapport, extrinsic, and intrinsic motivation. These were taken into account the hero, the teacher, and the student. For the focus group, thanks to the previous field notes, I recognized about identifying 9 students identified as problem students. The students that had more problems with the teacher. And I made a meeting in the school library. The students answered to questions, raising their hand. They also had the opportunity to compliment others with answer, to agree or disagree, and to convey an answer that fulfilled everyone's thoughts. It was in Spanish. The semi-structured interview was just with the teacher. The meeting was in the teacher's room, and also was in Spanish because of the previous explanation. Data analysis procedure. Well, the fields were put in observation records, focus group answers, semi-structured interview answers were the product of the interviews and the focus group. I made a coding matrix in which I put intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, and rapport, and in order to separate the things that I identify as intrinsic, extrinsic, and rapport. Well, to give an example, intrinsic motivation, I take every action that student made by her own, like independent work in class, the willingness to communicate, so on. Extrinsic motivation, and I took everything that affects the student, the teacher, me as well as an observer, the behavior of the students, the classroom, and also the noise and the place. And Robert, I took every glimpse of relationship between the students and teachers, like I don't know, communication, to ignore students, to ignore the teacher, everything that has to be done with relationship. Then I put this in interpretation matrix. When I received this, the rapport influence motivation, and also made a triangulation matrix we associate the common answers and behavior in order to isolate more the phenomenon that I wanted to prove. Well, my conclusions. Well, every action that makes students feel mistreated or underrated by the teacher makes the relationship between them hard to be accomplished. So, that leads us to, if there is no significant bond between them, all the information that the teacher wants to give to students, in this case EFL, would not have an impact that would internalize the knowledge and also would affect discipline too. Because as Plato mentioned, talking about Aristotle's work, students and teacher needs a dialogue. It's not a conversation, it's deep than a conversation, it's a dialogue. We need to get to the spine to the students with our words. And if we can't get to the spine to the students, the information is not meaningful. It's not has an impact. And that's to say that the students can transfer the information from one part to another. I mean, they are going to be just surface learning, not deep learners. And finally, rapport and motivation do not act as two separate entities. They seem to be interconnected. One won't work efficiently without the other, and if one grows, so does the other. It is common to say that rapport is the first thing that had to happen. But I will say that we can achieve rapport using motivation. Also that we can achieve motivation using just rapport. Okay? Limitations. Well, I thought about this a lot, and I find that the blurriness between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is easy to get confused. Because of this, I'm taking consideration integrated subcategories, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation in order to isolate better the samples. Because sometimes we are not sure if our actions are making the students to be intrinsically motivated. It's my motivation that is motivating the student, or is this his motivation? And finally, my metacognitive analysis. The learning objective was number 6 from an 8th grade. Well, the objective was students are going to participate in interactions and presentations orally, clearly and fluently. Students are expected to be able of, before speaking, practice presentation, repeat, predict, key vocabulary, and common expressions. Chants. When speaking, use gesture and feelings, synonyms, and connectors as for help. And after speaking, register errors and correct them with the help of teacher and resources. Well, my strength in this situation, I have a facility to create activities and also games to foster the memory of the students, and in order to remember chunks, keywords, and connectors. And also, I will help students with association of words and build schemes in their minds. And finally, I had a previous education in graphic design, and also I had a mass media courses in the university. So I had the experience to teach students how to organize their presentations, images, and texts. Well, the development of formal operations is where I am going to go further, because I'm going to be again at the age of 11 and 15. The students are in a transition between concrete and abstract forms. They are not achieving the level of formal operation. That is to say that this is the perfect moment to use reality, imagination, and also to build schemes based on the native language, because students need something that comes to their minds when they're talking in English, in order to not feel, to just being producing sounds. And well, that has to be with combination operation, combination, computation, and relations. It's a mental process. My weaknesses, well, my major weaknesses, and it happened to me also in the research, is I have a struggle with mistakes with grammar structures. I had to work on that, and in order to help the students to recognize their mistakes. Also, time management. I'm not so good with time management, but I think that it's more related with experience than other things. And challenges, well, time for preparation according to the school schedule. Well, time for preparation, obviously, because when I was making internship, I realized that the classroom and the teachers has a lot of interference. People that come to classes, acts of the school, and also students that had to leave the room to the psychologist, and also if I can go to the class, or my students can come to the classroom. And finally, to generate willingness to communicate among the students during classes. Well, maybe some teachers would say that this is a problem just in English classes, but I not agree with that. Because in Spanish, mathematics, and also in biology, students have this problem at that age. They don't want to talk in public. That's the problem. It's because adolescents, they feel this embarrassment and also this lack of motivation and confidence to talk. So it's our job to boost their